Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. We'll go ahead and get started. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Shanvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Kridentosti Abhadrani Vidunoti Sahasratam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 4, Chapter 7, verse 42. Devauchu Pura kalpapaye svakritam utari kritya vikritam tvam eva dastasmin sadila uragandre dishyane puman se siddhair hridi vimrishitadyatma padavi sa eva dakshnor yapati charasi vrityan avashina. Synonym: Deva, the demigods. Uchu, said. Pura, formerly. Kalpa ape, at the devastation of the kalpa. Swakritam, self-produced. Udari kritya, having drawn within your abdomen. Vikritam, effect. Tvam, you. Eva, certainly. Adya, original. Tasmin, in that. Satile, water. Urugra Indra, on Shesha. Adishayane, on the bed. Human, personality. Sheshe, taking rest. Siddhe, by the liberated soul, like Sanaka, etc. Hridi, in the heart. Vimshrita, meditated on. Adhyatma Padavi, the path of philosophical speculations. Sa, he. Eva, certainly. Adya, now. Akshano, of both eyes. Yah, who. Pati, on the path. Charasi, you move. Bhratyan, servants. Avashi, protect. Na, us. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The demigod said, Dear Lord, formerly when there was a devastation, you conserved all the different energies of material manifestation. At that time, all the inhabitants of the higher planets, represented by such liberated souls such as Sanaka, were meditating on you by philosophical speculation. You are therefore the original person, and you rest in the water of devastation on the bed of the Shesha snake. Now, today, you are visible to us, who are all your servants. Please give us protection. Purport. The devastation indicated in this verse is the partial devastation of the lower planets within the universe when Lord Brahma goes to sleep. The higher planetary systems, beginning with Maharloka, Janaloka, and Tapaloka, are not inundated at the time of this devastation. The Lord is the creator, as indicated in this verse, because the energies of creation are manifested through his body, and after annihilation, he conserves all the energy within his abdomen. Another significant point in this verse is that the demigods say, We are all your servants, Prityan. Give us your protection. The demigods depend on the protection of Vishnu. They are not independent. Bhagavad Gita therefore condemns the worship of demigods because there is no need of it, and clearly states that only those who have lost their sense go asking favors for the demigods. Generally, if anyone has material desires to be fulfilled, he can ask Vishnu instead of going to the demigods. Those who worship demigods are not very intelligent. Besides that, the demigods say, We are your eternal servants. So those who are servants or devotees of the Lord are not very much concerned with fruitive activities. the performance of prescribed yajnas or mental speculation. They simply serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead sincerely, with love and faith, performing everything with that loving service, and the Lord gives such devotees direct protection. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, simply surrender unto me, and I will give you protection from all the reaction of sinful activities. This material world is so created that one has to act sinfully, knowing or unknowingly. And unless his life is dedicated to Vishnu, he has to suffer all the reactions of sinful activities. But one who has surrenders and dedicates his life for the service of the Lord has direct protection from the Lord. He has no fear of suffering from sinful activities, nor does he desire willingly or unwillingly to do anything which is sinful. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachyatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sati Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I humbly bow down to all the devotees assembled here. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak on these verses, and please forgive me for any of my own interpretations while speaking. So I refer to Chaitanya Charan Prabhu's Gita explanations. That there were quite a nice explanation given on these concepts. From this verse, really 2 points, reflections stood out to me. One was about the demigod worship, and then the second was regarding Lord's protection. So in this section right now, right here, the demigods are offering prayers. They're talking about the 3 aspects of Lord Vishnu, that he is the creator, maintainer, and destroyer, like through Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and then of course Lord Vishnu. So the position of the Lord that was protecting them even at the time of devastation. So it is also kind of explained here that the Gyanis, when they refer to Sanat Kumar, so they are saying that with philosophical speculation, people cannot see you, but we can see you because they are devoted to the Lord. So through other paths, they may be able to conceptualize Krishna, but then the demigods are saying that we are able to see you. And so that's kind of the gist of this verse. So also Prabhupada mentions very clearly, right? Demigods depend on Vishnu for protection. We don't see anywhere in the prayers where Vishnu is going and praying to the demigods for protection, right? So that's why it is condemned, demigod worship actually. In Bhagavad Gita 7.23, very commonly quoted verse, right? It said that men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. So those who worship the demigods go to the planet of demigods, but my devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. So in this verse, right, Krishna's statement is sometimes read to imply that the worshippers of the devatas are less intelligent, alpamedism. So in that case, we know that in Mahabharata, right, Arjuna he appeased the devatas such as Indra, and he got the celestial weapons. So how do we explain that situation, right? So we have to really understand exactly what Krishna considers less intelligent. So the first point is the craving for the temporary results of the worship of the devatas. So this is very commonly explained, right? And even as I said, all of us who are from the Indian background, I think we all have seen this in the past. Like very clearly, the astrologers are consulted and they will go through the chart and they will tell you specifically what is the problem or the things that they are seeing in the astrological chart and what is the resolution that can be done. Example, you have Shani dosha, so you do Shani puja. Saturdays you go to the temple and do X, Y, and Z things, right? So really there is the craving for temporary result, and that's why people are devoted towards worship of the devatas, and that's the antavatu phalam tesham. Second reason why demigod worship is done is, so what happens is with demigod worship, the worshipper's failure to see that the devata's power to bless comes from Krishna, right? So this is explained in verse 722, because as I said, we can go to the demigods, ask for things, and they will quickly fulfill the wishes too, right? That's why they are there for. When offerings are given to them, then they quickly do it. But if we fail to see that even their blessings or their all of the capability that they have is actually coming from Krishna, then we really fail the point. The third is the worshippers' overpowering worldly desires that steal away their knowledge, right? This is explained in verse 722 of Bhagavad Gita. So, what is the knowledge that worldly desires steal away? The knowledge of that's the knowledge of Krishna's supreme position. So, those who know that Krishna is everything, right? Vasudevam Sarvamiti, are always enriched with knowledge, and they are Jnanavan. So Arjun never deviated from his relationship with Krishna. Wanting to serve Krishna resourcefully, he sought the resource of celestial weapons that were under the Devata's custody. Knowing that Arjuna wouldn't get deviated, Krishna urged Arjuna to worship later on, like Bhadrakali also, thus providing an example of religious piety for those people who aren't ready. So, because of Arjuna's fixity of purpose, he was enriched with this knowledge. He became the Jnanavan and the not deficient in knowledge, which is Alpamedasam. So, with this, we just clearly have to understand, right? Like the demigod worship philosophy, as long as like we are not going them because we are craving for the temporary results. And also, as long as we don't fail to understand that all of that power is coming from Krishna, that is important. And then the worshippers, like all these worldly desires, not stealing away our knowledge. And again, what is that knowledge? Understanding Krishna is the supreme, Vasudevam Sarvamiti. So, in one sentence, summary is like Krishna's less intelligence describer refers to craving for temporary things, failure to see Krishna as the ultimate source of all blessings, and the deviation of devotion from Krishna to something else. And also around demigod worship, it is also explained that just as water falling from the sky reaches the ocean, the worship offered to the various gods reaches Keshava. However, does it imply that the worship of all gods are the same and by extension that all gods are one? No, because it asserts Krishna's unique position as the ultimate object of worship, just as the ocean is the water's final destination. So when a person pours water into flowing river, the water reaches the ocean, but the person doesn't. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur adopts this water ocean analogy by inserting the worshipper and not the sky as the source of water. So when a person pours water into a flowing river, the water reaches the ocean, but the person doesn't. Similarly, the worship offered to demigods by their worshippers reaches Krishna, but the worshippers themselves don't. And why is that? Because their heart is not devoted to Krishna. And the Bhagavad Gita, verse 8.06, very popular verse again, indicates that our strongest attachment determines our destination, right? After death. So in Bhagavad Gita, this is the point, right? Really, the object of worship is so important. If we focus on demigod worship, that's where we are going to go. But we worship Krishna, then ultimately that is our destination. So those are really the important points around the demigod worship. And as I said earlier, the second important point that stood out in this verse is the Lord's protection. So Bhagavad Gita verse 9.31, it's very frequently quoted verse, right? We know that Shir- Shriram bhavati dharmatma sasva chantim nigachati kaunteya pratijanati name bhakta pranachati. 931. So he quickly becomes righteous and attains lasting peace. O son of Kunti, declare it boldly that my devotee never perishes. So here Krishna is offering protection to his devotees. So while this verse is often used to support the idea that Krishna will protect us physically, the verse when really is focusing on is Krishna's spiritual protection. So what is this, right? Even if we fall to some of the misdeeds, right, we are still being protected and purified by Krishna's mercy. So what is this spiritual protection, right? Even we know that Krishna, Arjuna was on the battlefield in the midst of so much of this physical danger. But Gita was spoken to address Arjuna's reluctance to fight. And why was Arjuna reluctant? It was not that Arjuna was scared of his own physical body or physical any of that, but he was scared. Remember the five reasons that was given? So he was scared of the spiritual danger that may happen because of a wrong choice, killing his own relatives, causing sinful reactions. So he was scared of the spiritual danger. So why is it the spiritual dangers are so alarming? Because physical dangers don't often, physical dangers come upon us because of we saw so many of our classes that we have seen that they all come because of our past karmic reactions, right? However, spiritual dangers on the other side come due to our present choices. And when we talk about spiritual danger, again and again, this topic is coming in front of us. It is really talking about all the offenses that we create. And we saw even in Madhurya Kadambini, right, the difference between between the offenses versus sinful reactions, right? Sinful reaction came from past life, whereas offenses are something we are creating right now. Like if we are not careful about how we act and around all of our actions, like seva aprad, Vaishnava Aprad, and all of those apradhas, we went over all of that. So, really, here what Krishna is talking about is the spiritual protection that he gives us. So, how can this verse be related to our situation? It can give us hope that if we fall due to our past conditioning or our present conditions, we too will be protected and delivered by the Lord. When trying to lead a life centered around moral and spiritual principles, we all will have struggles when confronted with temptations and tribulations and all of that thing. However, so when all of these challenges happen, immediately what do we think? We need quick pleasure or quick relief from the situations, right? But rather than doing all of that and giving into unhealthy feelings of guilt, discouragement, resentment, and all of that, we can turn towards Krishna and focus on His word, His promise, and His love. So that's what. So more alarming than physical danger is spiritual danger. And Krishna is assuring us that protection from that ultimate danger. So as I said in this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, the two important points that stood out for me was the demigod worship, understanding how Krishna is the supreme, and no need for us to get distracted. Just hold on to Krishna, hold on, just keep us really that one pointed focus to Krishna. That's what we got to do. And then understanding what is that ultimate protection, right? It's really Krishna protecting us in our spiritual journey. Because even if there are distractions, even if I may fall down with everything, anything else that happens, distractions, I still continue on this path. I was just thinking this too, right? So in our lives, right, like we are steadily continuing through this sadhana program, but sometimes some of the things just come. Like I was just thinking this weekend was such a nice home program events, but I couldn't attend any of them because of the Friday, the big event that happened with CrowdStrike. I was fully engaged. My entire weekend, I was busy with all of that. And in my consciousness now, when I'm chanting, all the time I'm getting distracted because of, because of how heavily I was engaged in that work, all along, all of those scenes and all of that troubleshooting, everything is just coming in my mind. And I'm really not able to focus like how I was focusing last week, right? So then my response, my internal meditation is that, Krishna, it doesn't matter. There are hills and plateaus, right? I mean, I keep going. It doesn't matter. Even if I'm having this plateau, my mind is not getting focused. I'm so distracted. I'm just still going to keep continuing, because once he sees that I'm still continuing, then he is going to support me. And then eventually, I think the mode of goodness will slowly come back in from my mode of passion that I'm in right now, right? And then, slowly I may come back to normalcy and then be able to focus better. So, with that, I would like to end. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam